Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vegas Legal Magazine podcast. I'm Mark Fierro with Vegas Legal Magazine publisher Tyler Morgan, Fierro Communications Vice President Jeff Haney. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's an indication of just how professional the recreational and medical marijuana industry has become in this state. They have their own association. I've attended one of the meetings, and you'd be amazed, maybe you wouldn't be amazed, at the level of sophistication of the people who are driving Nevada's breakthrough recreational and medical marijuana market. Joining us today is John Laub, and he's the president of the Las Vegas Medical Marijuana Association. I want to thank you for joining us today, John.
Yeah, thank you.
This is some pretty rapid growth. Now, it was just June of last year that people that could only sell medical were dying on the vine. They were having some tough times when it was only medical, right?
That's correct. Yeah, it's funny. This industry, the medical side, wasn't sustainable unless we had adult use. Now, it sounds kind of funny, but I was in a line on the medical side. This is after gone recreational. And on the other side, the adult use recreational side, there are seniors there with back problems, with arthritis, sleep problems, but they didn't want to get their cards. A lot of people did not want to get cards. So as far as we look at it in the Las Vegas Medical Marijuana Association, it's all medical. These are all patients. Yeah, it helps.
Now, since that time, as you know, and Governor Sandoval, to his credit, came up with the idea of we're going to get there in January. Let's go ahead and jumpstart this thing. They expected $60 million a year. They hit it almost perfectly on the head, didn't they? In terms of tax revenue, $30 million in the first 6 months.
Yeah, no, they have hit it pretty. We're above projection right now. We're as far as sales, we're looking at about $500 million for the fiscal year, and yeah, I think that's a little low. I think in another year, we'll start creeping up toward $1 billion. We'll eventually get there. It depends on legislation. It depends on how the consumption lounges work out. People want to come here for their medical marijuana, or they want to come here to Las Vegas to have marijuana, actually marijuana tourism. But at this point, there's no place for them to consume legally.
Do you guys think that the increase in the sales is more individual people coming into the dispensaries and purchasing product, or do you think it's just the people that got in, they understand the laws, they're now starting to more frequent the dispensaries? Do you think we've sort of reached the entire community yet as far as customer base?
Not at all. And there's a customer base out there. The senior citizens are just, they're accepting of medical marijuana, but nobody's gone out to really talk to them about how this will help them get off the opiates, how their pain, chronic pain issues, sleep issues, nausea with chemotherapy, whatever it might be. So there's a big market out there. What was interesting on July 1st, which is, that was when that adult use came, there's lines outside of every dispensary. It was a big night that night. These people were buying their marijuana someplace prior to this. These weren't first timers. So it's good to see that we're getting, good lab tested, safe marijuana, but it's also important we're getting that tax dollar that's going for education. We all feel pretty strongly about that.
And when you look at the first 6 months in Nevada compared with a couple of other states who did it a little bit before us, Colorado and Washington, it looks like in Nevada, we're outpacing them, at least as far as the first half of the year. Is that something you expected? And why do you think that? Why do you think that is? Why do you think we came out of the gates so quickly compared to the other couple of early adopting states?
Yeah, Jeff, that's a great question. And you're right. Actually, we did come out rather quickly. And the big difference there, Washington and Colorado are kind of slow legislatively. It wasn't a clear path. Nevada had to clear what they wanted to do. We had the best testing rules. We kind of worked that out through prior to the medical, but they were motivated to do this right and do it quickly and get the tax dollars. So we were focused, and so it takes leadership on the state level. And I want to thank Governor Sandoval and the Department of Behavioral and Public Health, and now taxation.
It's interesting. California, compared to us, it seems as if you're in the business of collecting tax revenue, it seems as if our system is so far superior to theirs. They're always going to have a black market. They're always going to have outlaw growers, and they're just not going to collect as many tax dollars per amount of marijuana sold.
They're not. California's had some unique problems. They were the first state to legalize medical marijuana. They were collectives. It was nonprofits. But at some point, they kind of lost control of it fairly quickly on. And California also is the number one grower of illegal marijuana. And they ship illegal marijuana across the country. And actually what's going to start happening now as more states legalize marijuana, they're going to start clamping down and catching this illegal marijuana coming from, unfortunately, California, from Humboldt County and those areas that we know about. It's the Wild West in California. They have their work cut out for them.
I heard one comment, they said, that was at your meeting, and they said, Nevada, safe, tested marijuana is $400 an ounce. In California, it's $500 a pound. That's the difference between the two. And it would seem like that's a really, really, they can crack down a whole lot and not get to it when there's that much money on the table.
It's changing. I mean, California has also lab testing rules like we do, and it's the only safe way to be. Where this has come out, especially in California, they had a patient who was 21 years old who had cancer, and he was on chemotherapy, taking marijuana to help with the nausea and that type of stuff. His marijuana, unfortunately, turned out to had mold on it. Their testing did not pick it up. Ours would have. But anyway, his immune system was impaired. The mycotoxins in the mold killed him. And so it behooves us to do it properly, and Nevada is doing it properly. But there's a difference here, and our testing also tells you what we're actually getting as far as the THC, the CBD, the other cannabinoids, the pesticides, the heavy metals, the mold, the mycotoxins, all that type of stuff. So we're making sure that it is safe, it's lab tested, and what you're getting, you know how many milligrams of THC you might be getting or CBD, what that ratio is, and all that affects people, their health, and what they're looking to achieve.
So for the people that are listening, so that they understand, because the way that testing works, the testing labs are distinct from the growers and the producers and the dispensaries, that the two don't share licenses. So there's no conflict of interest or anything, but how does the actual testing process work so that people understand how the marijuana is actually going through the system? They're checking everything. It goes from the grower to, a sample is sent, and can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. And it's an important basis for this whole program. Actually, the labs will go out to the cultivation. They'll sequester 5 pounds and then take a portion of that marijuana. And while that's marijuana sequestered, they'll test it in their lab, and they're completely independent. The state looks at what they're doing, and then they'll come back with the results. If it's okay by the state, if it meets the requirements, essentially the pesticide, heavy metals, all those type of things, then they'll be able to release that at that point. There is a second step, though, if they're making edibles out of that, so it'll actually get tested as flour, and then once it goes into to make a distillate, oil of some sort, when it comes out of there, it'll be tested again, and sometimes maybe even a third time if it goes into a cookie or a chocolate or something else like that.
So it's really like a full pharmaceutical process. So whether you're getting adult use recreational marijuana or medical grade, specialized for medical use only marijuana, you're still getting basically pharmaceutical product. So people should know to feel safe that they can go to a dispensary and get it. That it's as clean and pure as you can get.
Yeah, you're correct, Tyler, and we want to make sure it stays that way. We think that's important.
John, you briefly alluded to the fact that there's still that federal prohibition on marijuana always lurking in the background. I know that Senator Gardner of Colorado just last month announced that he reached an agreement with the Trump administration that this administration would basically lay off. They would respect the state's rights. They would not crack down on the state selling marijuana. Now, a little bit oddly, it came in the context that was kind of a quid pro quo, the way it was presented, that in exchange for the administration laying off Colorado, Senator Gardner would approve Trump's picks for the Justice Department or something, which is a little odd. But that aside, do you take that at face value? Do you think this administration is going to respect what the states are doing?
Yeah, no, Yeah, that's a huge change for the marijuana industry. Back in January 4th to be exact, was when Jeff Sessions reversed the Cole memo, and that was the entire guidance from the Obama administration on how to deal with marijuana from the Department of Justice. Once Cory Gardner and Trump met on this, and however it was worked out, the quid pro quo came out of this, it's changed the market entirely. The cannabis stocks have gone up. People, it's a brand new day. We're all pretty excited about it. Made a big difference.
So in other words, that doesn't apply just to Colorado. That you take that to apply to Nevada and the other states in the field. Yeah.
As any industry matures, once the threat, that specter of federal intervention goes away, you're going to see in most businesses the maturation process, and you see acquisition. And I'm starting to hear some of that. How prevalent is that these are mergers and acquisitions that are going on, and maybe possibly IPOs?
It's a natural progression in any industry that's growing and it's new. The funny thing here, we're seeing it already, and we're seeing it from Canada. Canada, you can go public a lot easier. They have a banking system. They've had medical marijuana for 10 years now, and now they're going to nationwide legalize it probably July, maybe depending on their politics by September. They have large multi-billion-dollar companies that are starting to look to buy companies in the States. MPX, actually, one Tech Sigerbloom is sitting on the board of. They've bought 4 dispensaries in Arizona, and they're looking at more acquisitions, some here and some other places. But Canada has the money right now. And it's almost like Nevada understands this. We've been in mining. All the mining companies are Canadian because that's where you can take your companies public. You can fund mining. It's going to be the same way here if the United States doesn't change things so we can run our own destiny, so to speak.
Yeah, as of right now, if you want to buy stock in a publicly traded company that's involved in pot production, it's most likely going to be a Canadian company as of right now.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a couple U.S.-based ones, but the biggest ones, Canopy, Growth, Aurora, Flying Dutchman just went public yesterday. Yes, it's going to be, that's where the money is. And they're actually exporting marijuana to Germany and other countries from Canada. So it's, everything's changing.
To back up for a moment, when they first considered legalization, they first considered going the next step towards recreational. You're always looking for persuadables when you're trying to get people to vote in a certain direction. One of the ones that was isolated, one of the groups, large group that you could pull over to the other side, was Democratic women. And evidently Republican women weren't going to switch their position, but Democratic mothers were opposed, but polling showed could be dragged across the line, and it was fairly simple, fairly straightforward, and I think it's also a cornerstone of one of the strengths of modern recreational marijuana, and that is you're not going to decide whether your kids smoke pot or not. You're simply not. If you think you are, ask
you wish
yourself.
You could.
Yeah, of course.
Don't do that.
If you think back when you were a kid, did you go to your mom and go, I'm thinking about buying some pot, Mom. What do you think? Are you in? So that's not going to happen. The kids are going to decide on their own. The only decision that we have to make as a state, as a society, whether they're going to be smoking something that is tested and tested and tested, that the people themselves that are involved, irrespective of government intervention, brag about the purity of the water they use, brag about the quality of the air that these plants are grown in. Meanwhile, on the illegal side, they're using pesticides once or twice during the life of the crop, and they're using DDT because it's the most powerful pesticide that they can use, so it's easily transportable. They go in, dump it all over everything, and that's what your kid gets to smoke if you vote against recreational marijuana. And so it's very telling. This is a different world. For people who don't understand it and don't care anything about marijuana, aren't going to partake of it, it is a different world. It is a completely different product. The level of sophistication in that room, the tracking of the genome, the way every strain interacts with each other, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Some big brains.
But also the people involved. You're not going into these meetings and working in an industry of a bunch of, Willie Nelsons and Cheech and Chongs. I mean, you're going in with bankers,
Oh, there's
attorneys.
nothing wring with Willie Nelson and
Well,
no,
James
there's
John.
nothing wrong
Willie
with that,
Nelson
but-
is a musical genius, I will tell you that
But-
much,
but,
with
you know,
all
I think-
sincerity.
Yes, he is.
He is.
I think the general public that's, you know, maybe against marijuana, they think that, you know, these people, they just smoke a bunch of pot, they're always high, like they don't even know what they're doing. But there is such a level of sophistication between the testing. I mean, it's literally handled like a pharmaceutical industry. And the people involved in running these companies are very well versed in other industries with banking and law and everything. And they have a very, you know, they hold it dear to the heart. I mean, they really handle this like
Pride.
a baby. Yeah,
A
there's a
lot
lot
of
of pride
pride.
in this
A lot of
industry.
pride.
It's very
And-
impressive.
And I've lived here for a long, long time, and I will say this is one of
How
the,
long was that?
since
Never mind.
69.
Back when the tumbleweeds were going down.
That's
Las Vegas
right.
Boulevard.
When I was in-
There was a town back then?
Yeah, not much of one. But of the things that I've seen during this time, when I was a kid, the law was, it was 3 seeds because they said, well, you know, seeds could get in your car through aeration and the wind blew it in there. But if you had 3 seeds, that was proof that you were in possession,
Wow.
and that was a felony. So they could destroy your life over 3 seeds, and nothing would destroy your life more than going to prison, but that was the law in Nevada. One of the things that I'm proudest about this state is the way that they've handled this in such a mature fashion, and the way that they were able to take the sense of it, the pride that people took in this product, and actually bring it to market and do it in as safe a way, in as controlled a fashion, and quite frankly, do it in as good, with as good a legal structure, if not better, than anybody else's legal structure in all the other states. I just think it really did turn out quite well, and I'm glad that it was Sandoval. I think it was a very, very smart move that he did when he saw the numbers that were available, and that he pushed it up another 6 months earlier, or we'd still be standing around and this whole industry would only be a couple months old.
Right, and I couldn't agree more. The testing, I think your point is well taken on the testing, how important that is. People, we found out that Parkinsons, a form of Parkinson's, was caused by paraquat that was put on marijuana as a pesticide, and that was causing the marijuana smokers to get Parkinson's. So you can see how important testing and having a safe product is. Not that and parents don't have a choice whether kids are going to smoke it or not. Of course, we don't want the kids to smoke it. We're not encouraging that, but if they do, we want to make sure it's the safest. And same with our tourists, and same with our patients. We want to make sure it's the safe and the best product it could possibly be. And Nevada's done a great job with this.
What do you think in our market, what do you think the percentage breakdown is between tourists that come in and they're buying the product versus the locals that are using it?
You know, and I'm going to pull this out of the air. I think it's probably 60-40, 40% tourists right now. We'll have those figures. There's a company out there, actually spoke at the last meeting, BDS Analytics, and they get all the information. But from talking to dispensaries, they're saying between 40 and 50% of their business, specifically the ones around the around the strip, are tourists. And so we're seeing, they're seeing a lot of that. It's a very important part of that. And if we can get the tourists to pay our tax dollars, on marijuana, just like they do in gaming and everything else, it's a good thing for Nevada.
Speaking of gaming, if you want to see an Olympic level sprinter, talk to a casino executive about marijuana, and they'll get out of the room so fast it'll make your head spin. Is that all driven by the feds, you think? Is it the fear of federal intervention? Once that goes away, will things change?
It'll change, and I don't blame them. The most valuable license in this state is a gaming license.
In the world, let's face it.
In the world, in our opinion, it is. Me and Macau, but we'll definitely here. You don't want to do anything to jeopardize that gaming license. And the state says, look, let's keep a wall between marijuana and gaming, and that's the way it's going to be. That needs to change. Our younger tourists are more marijuana inclined. We need to start bringing in that next generation. A lot of them are marijuana smokers, or at least like to have the right to be able to do that. So
To feel comfortable.
yes, I think it's the wave of the future, and Nevada's always been good about anticipating the future.
I always tell my clients that are involved in anywhere close to gaming, their real job is you only have one job, and that's satisfy regulators. And if you do that, the rest will take care of itself.
On the medical front, you mentioned that paraquat and other harmful additives can actually perhaps cause Parkinson's, whereas legitimate medical marijuana, ironically, can help with the effects of Parkinson's, as well as things like MS, seizures, maybe even Alzheimer's. I know you've done a lot of work in that area. I was wondering if you could address some of the research you have done in those areas.
I've done some research. That's correct. Marijuana, or the THC, is a neuroprotectant, and that's what helps with the tremors on Parkinson's. You have problems with the dopamine producing neurons, and so that kind of helps. It slows that process down as best as we can tell.
Helps make movement easier, correct, and eases some of the pain.
We're seeing them. Yeah, it's we can't do clinical trials yet because
Right.
it's federally illegal, and the National Institute of Drug Abuse stops all clinical trials, and they've only allowed just a few in. But then we have to get the marijuana from Mississippi, and it's not very good, and it's not it's not the quality that we get in Nevada. So it's frustrating, but we hear these stories. We see there is some research on how it affects in vitro or in vivo. Or the vivo is the tough part, but vitro right now on animals. But we hear a lot of stories from people on their cancer, on the nausea, Parkinson's, what drives me nuts is that our boxing the Nevada Boxing Commission will not allow boxers to smoke marijuana when this would help them to smoke before and afterwards. They actually get suspended for 6 to 9 months. That's it's a crime.
Historically, the NFL was always like that too, and in many
Good point,
cases,
Jeff.
marijuana was in a lot of cases, far and away the best thing for some of these guys, and instead they load up on pills and all kinds of harmful medications.
Well, and there was also some guy who was just saying, I think it was yesterday or today, how he was in the drug intervention program for the NBA, and he said about 90% of the players are in that program. And
Which includes all the best players, right?
I think it was like almost every single one of them was in there for marijuana. Yeah.
Yeah, baseball is one of the most lenient, isn't it? They're the ones they give the most leeway to players.
Historically, it's been that way.
I don't know. I mean, the UFC, they let the one guy fail out like 3-4 times, and they kept bringing him back.
Well, the Parkinson's issue is startling. What are the next steps? We're of that age. America, including this generation, is getting to that where a lot of Parkinson's is starting to show up. We hear you've done research. What are their answers? Is there anything out there to be hopeful about?
Yeah, Mark and I have had this discussion, is that I also work in the biotech industry, and I'm working with a company that's doing research right now on Parkinson's. And what that company is looking at, they're using a growth factor, FGF1, to grow blood vessels and nerves. Surprisingly, it's already been used in monkeys and rats, that it's completely reversed those Parkinson symptoms. And what it's doing, it's regrowing. It's first protecting the nerves, and then it's telling the nerve stem cells, hey, there's now blood vessels here. The nerve stem cells can grow new nerves. And so we're going to start those. That company's going to start those trials probably in June here in Las Vegas. Phase 2, I'm not sure where they're going to do those. That's another step up, but that's a complete change in Parkinson's. And I think that one's exciting. I'm going to get those guys to come back, that research group here, and come talk on Vegas legal news, because I think that's a big thing. It does start, usually Parkinson, the medium, or the age that it really starts at is about 60 years old. And it can come on 60 or 70 or 80. We met a lot of those people. They call it the glass coffin, because you slowly just die and you see yourself losing more motor control. And it's a very torturous long-term death, and it's not a pretty thing.
It's also heartbreaking in that with every new drug that's a fit for that person, they know that drug is only going to work for a set period of time if they're lucky, and then all of the symptoms come back.
You've been around this, I can tell. So that's dyskinesia. The new drugs will hold on to symptoms, and then you'll get symptoms from the drug that you've been taking. and they can be worse than the Parkinsons, and it's a pretty rapid once that hits. There's a lot of things. There just isn't a good answer for Parkinson's right now. Actually, the best answer right now is exercise as much as you can. There's a lot of boxing groups that they keep the blood flow going, and we think that's part of that. What we're trying to do is create more blood flow. They're doing it through exercise, so exercise is always a good thing to do.
Always a good thing.
And where do we stand right now on the banking issue? We all know that banks have been hesitant to do a lot of business with the sellers, leaving them to conduct so many transactions in, pure hard physical cash, which probably isn't sustainable. Any progress being made on that front?
Yeah, there's a bank out of the Bahamas that is looking to move here. We're going to have them speak at the next luncheon, May 16th. That's a Fusion Bank out of the Bahamas. It's a Bahama-based bank, and they're going to entirely go with cannabis. They've talked to George Burns, who is the banking commissioner here, so we think we're going to have a bank here. We'll see how that works. There's a lot of questions we need to ask them about working with the Federal Reserve System. They have their own insurance, so they're not going to use FDIC. And so we might have a bank. There's people out there talking to bringing in some credit unions also right now, but Fusion Bank out of the Bahamas might be the first one.
So right now, everybody's just vaults and stashing cash wherever they can
Yeah,
go.
they're paying everything in cash.
God,
Everything in
unbelievable.
cash, yeah. No, it's ridiculous. Steve Mnuchin from the Secretary of Treasury, he understands this has to be fixed, and so he's kind of battling Jeff Sessions right now. Like, don't worry about the issues here. Cash out there is not a good thing.
No.
It's dangerous. It doesn't get recorded by to pay taxes on, all that type of stuff. So it needs to change for
Yeah,
society.
just trying to run a payroll with cash only is just got to be a nightmare. Trying to pay everybody to work in
Stuffing
your
it in
facility.
envelopes.
Yeah.
Just remember that people walk into banks with firearms, take the risk of ending other people's lives, their own lives, going to prison for 20 years, and the average take is $1,500. So put that in perspective. Things will change rapidly after, I'm sorry, it's sad to say this, so if something goes way wrong involving cash in this industry.
Yeah, now we just
So-
saw, this week, there was a car, somebody stole a car up in Reno, crashed it into a dispensary, trying to steal money. Yeah,
Yeah, they'll desperate measures. They'll do anything they can. Aside from the banking, what's the status on the state with new applications and bringing in? Are they going to bring in more cultivators and producers or dispensaries? Have you heard any update on that?
it's a tricky question. Question 2, that allowed for adult use, allowed for a certain amount of more dispensaries to come in, 80 for Southern Nevada. So we had basically room for 32 more. And the Henderson already has said, look, they had to be both medical and recreational. And we're not sure if the state is going to issue more medical licenses on the dispensary side. So it might be a de facto moratorium to keep more dispensaries out of Henderson. They're looking at that for Las Vegas and the county. And part of the argument that we've made in what we're hearing back from the community is that more people of color want to be part of the ownership of the new dispensaries. It's not across the board. We did a commemoration for Martin Luther King at a dispensary, and they feel very strongly that the black community, African American community, just was horribly affected by the war on drugs. And then now that now it's legal, they should be part of the ownership. And we couldn't agree more. It's just a question of fairness and justice. And so that's what the Latin Chamber is looking at this. So is the Urban Chamber, actually, and so is the Asian, to be at least have their people have that chance. So the cities and counties need to be a little bit careful before they do these de facto moratoriums, because it might be affecting these other communities.
Are some of these dispensaries, are they still facing shortage of product from cultivators, or are the cultivators now finally kind of getting up there and supplying enough marijuana to stock the shelves?
It's been a good, healthy balance, and healthy is, in my mind, is making sure it's not too much, and it's not they're meeting the demand, but we don't want to see the price drop too much,
Yeah.
and that hurts the cultivators, and the quality and everything else like that. But right now it's in balance right now, and we hope to grow that.
Yeah, it'll be
the
interesting
business.
because in Colorado they've allowed pretty much anybody and their mother to cultivate marijuana. I think you can use up to like 75% of your home for cultivation, even in Colorado. So now the price per pound is, I think you get a pound of marijuana for like $900 in Colorado, which is just absurdly cheap compared to the what, 2,200 it is right now here.
Yeah, it harkens
Yeah.
back to what we said earlier about California too, same exact pattern. Again, because of the large number of black market growers, for a little bit of a different system than we have in Nevada, at least the way it's operating in reality, if not if not theoretically.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how they handle it so that they don't dilute the system, but make sure they also provide enough for everybody to get a wide variety when they go into a dispensary. Because I think right now, still you go into one dispensary and they're only able to get so much product from one person. Another dispensary's got some different stuff and everything. So I think if you want like a certain brand or product, I think you kind of have to stick to like certain dispensaries right now, where it's not like you can go into like, you know, Smith's and get Boar's Head and know it's always there, you know? So.
What has happened to prices? What's happened to prices since recreational?
You know, actually, they have come down. I mean, it was pretty high in July, but they have come down. The competition has driven prices down, and the supply's kind of kept up. So, you know, competition, you know, free market kind of does things. We're a modified free market as far as number of cultivations. It's up to the state whether to issue more licenses, and you know, I think we'll keep that in check because it is a problem in Colorado, and it's a huge problem in California to keep that in check. So, you know, we know how to regulate business well here. We're very good at it from the gaming side, and you know, it's working. And I have to give them, you know, I have to commend them on that.
I was in San Francisco right after legalization. And it was funny because when you walk down the street in San Francisco, you smell pot on every corner. Every corner, pretty much every corner. There's somebody smoking pot somewhere. Not necessarily a street
Were you stepping
person.
over the bums also? You know, they have that issue there too when I was there.
They're
But
progressive. They're stacking them now, so it's not as big a issue. So legalization comes, no pot smell, because everybody's doing concentrates because they're going right back into work. Just coming down.
well, yeah.
This
If
little
you're
e-cigarette.
vaping, you know, it's like an e-cigarette. You don't smell the smoke. There isn't smoke because it's not, you know, getting to that point where it's actually burning. You know, it's heating it up to where you can get the essential oils out.
Now, is it they've? You know, I hear talk out of both sides of the mouth. Are the concentrates safer? Is vaping safer than using flour?
Pretty much it is because you're not getting to the point where you're burning the product, and so you're getting less carcinogens, and it's easier on your throat and things like that. It's the same with e-cigarettes. You know, it's smoking cigarettes versus doing e-cigarettes. Is that better? It's that same. The concentrates seem to be cleaner and not as harsh. You know, that's what people tell me also.
I see a big thing being made out of using CO2 to separate it versus one of the other ones is like really scary, like benzene or something like. What's the
Butane.
other? Butane, is it butane?
It's butane.
Oh, how could that possibly hurt anybody? We play a little game here, and on the podcast, and just to kind of get your perspective. So, you have to limit it to downtown Las Vegas. What's your favorite restaurant downtown?
Well, let's see. Yeah, I'll probably say Mingo's.
Mingo's, good
Yeah.
choice. Good choice, small. Mingo's.
Yeah, of course, Carson Cafe I like. Eats very good. There are a lot of good restaurants down there.
Downtown, I go with Hugo's Cellar.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Old school Vegas. Well, also old school.
Yep. Like it.
I always get the snails there.
How about, what's your favorite place to live in Southern Nevada? Well, in Las Vegas. Put it that way.
Well, let's see. It's all good. I've been in Green Valley. I've been in the center. I grew up in Rancho Circle, and now I'm out in Centennial, out by Tule Springs. And
So you're up there. You're practically in Utah. Comparatively.
practically, yeah. Practically Indian Springs is pretty funny, but it is a pretty part of the valley. The mountains are really nice.
How long did it take you to learn to say Tule Springs instead of saying Floyd Lounge?
I still haven't made it there yet. Yeah, so I've been here as long as you have.
There was some great
Yeah.
horseback riding out there when I was a little
Yeah,
kid.
I'm glad you corrected that. Yeah, it is Floyd Lamb Park, not Tule Springs.
I'm in that same general area too, and I like it as well. When I first got my place, I was on basically the edge of I was as far north and west as you could get and still be in the city. It was just pure desert. Since then, of course, there's been development, but it's still a nice area.
Yeah, how many horses do you have? It sounds like you might do that.
I'm more of an urban guy. but-
Same here.
Urban cowboy. So your favorite bar?
Favorite bar? God, let's see. Maybe Craft House or Teneo Creek.
Both, very, very
Brew
nice.
pubs, craft beer.
Good guy. Okay. How about you get a check, $20 million. Say you walk out the casino, hit it big on the craps table. How does it change your life? What would you do with it?
Well, that's a good question. I would probably give a fair amount to charity. I would probably help seed a lot of businesses and help diversify the economy here.
Is there any particular charity you work with now, or that you're very fond of?
But no, that's a tough one. You invest in people, and you have to invest in good people, whether they're in charities or in businesses. But you want to find good people and help them get moving forward, because they'll have a big impact on your city and your community.
What is success? What is success? You have a different perspective than a lot of us. You've had success in life. What is success to you?
Success is building a community, building friendships. It's your friendships that you have in life is success, and your impact positively on people. That is success. I know that's kind of boring.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Who do you look up to today in the realm of politics?
Wow, that's a good question. Let me think on that one. I'm not sure if I have anybody quite right now. I appreciate what people are trying to do. To be in politics is take the slings and arrows all the time, and we kind of forget what a rough business that is. Obviously we cheer for who we like and not, but they're taking it, and I beg off to answer that question.
I hear it. And yes,
Half Republicans, half Democrats. That's yes.
we feel their pain.
Yes, we
feel
do.
their pain. And with that, we call it a day. The Vegas Legal Magazine podcast. I want to sincerely thank our host, John Laub, president of the Las Vegas Medical Marijuana Association, Tyler Morgan, publisher of Vegas Legal Magazine.
Ooh,
Thanks
right.
for doing the good work and bringing new life to the legal community in Southern Nevada. Jeff Haney, vice president of Fiero Communications, the friendliest marketing firm in town. For all of you out there with a story idea, or an axe to grind, get a hold of Vegas Legal Magazine, the leading magazine in Southern Nevada legal market. You can call Tyler at
702-222-3476.
reach out. Tell us. Tell your friends. Have a good one. We're out of here.